Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Hey everyone, it is Thursday, my favorite day of the week because I get to be with you for about an hour, maybe more, but never less. So I'm really excited about today. I have a few things to just really exclaim about, and I'm so excited that we've had the international best-selling book, 365 Days of Abundance Quotes. And I always like to go that, but wait, there's more. The 365 Days of Abundance Journaling book. They are on Amazon. And you can go find us on Amazon by going to mybook.to/Art of Connection 5. That is Art of Connection 5. That is definitely our abundance book series. And please, and if you haven't already, if you've purchased the book or you've read the book, please give us reviews. The authors in the book love your reviews, and we want your 5 stars. We'd love that. And plus, the 5 stars look like sunflowers anyway, so it's like hand in glove. Again, go out to mybook.to/Art of Connection 5. Also, I'm really excited that we have another book coming out. We're looking for authors to contribute to this book. And I say contribute because we found an amazing process to help all of our authors become not just, and believe me, I'm not saying this lightly, not just, but it's amazing to be an international best-selling author. But we are coming out with both our journal book and our quote book. And so when we become international best-selling authors with one contribution, we definitely think that's pretty amazing. You can go and get more information at going to 365 Days of Resilience Quotes. That's 365 Days of Resilience Quotes.com. You can find out more information about the quote book and the journal book there. And also, if you want to become a part of this, amazing family of crazy authors and entrepreneurs and speakers and, whoever else we have in there, just put Summer in there and they'll give you an amazing discount to get into the book, even lower than our sale price of $379. So we'd love for you to be a part of that as well. And hi, Erica. Thank you for being with us here on the show today. So Eric Avila, she's amazing. And I just wanted to give a little shout out to her. Also, I wanted to say we love your likes. We love your likes. Go to facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio or YouTube at YouTube/iNetrepreneur Radio. And guess what? You can bookmark us so you'll never have to spell iNetrepreneur anything ever again. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there for you. Also, you can subscribe to our magazines. I have 3 that I'm promoting today. The iNetrepreneur Network magazine, also the Contemporary Woman magazine, and the Infinite Core Coaching /magazine, but it's called Infinite Core Living. And we are coming out with our second issue very soon. We're just really excited. My wife puts together this beautiful, amazing magazine for those who are looking for, I'd like to say the otherworldly things that we have in life, because I believe that we live in a great, abundant universe, and it's a great magazine to learn from some of the people who contribute to that. Also, don't forget, you can go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. And there you can see some of the nearly 800 meetings and events that we put on each year. So, wow, what a lot that's going on. And one more thing, which I didn't put up on the screen, is on July 24th at the Ignite Business Center in downtown Phoenix. What I'm really excited about is we're going to have our Ultrapreneur event, where we have some of the best minds from around the country to come in and to teach and train, lots of networking, lots of fun, lots of breakouts, and I'm really excited to get the ticker going for that next week on the Ultrapreneur Ultimate Summit coming up in July, so July 24th. So I'm going to bring on our first guest today, and I'm really excited to bring on Buddy Thornton. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Robert, and it's always a thrill to be in your shadow and dive right in and give value to your audience.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy. And again, I'm with Dr. Buddy Thornton. He's owner and founder of Path2Knowing Academy. You can contact him at buddy.thornton at path2knowing.academy or call 480-861-1371. And, you know, buddy, you and I both share something in common, and that is that we both served in military, and we came through something that I think means something to both of us. We both have friends and even family members who have passed away by serving for our country. And I always like to give honor and respect to my best friends who have served as well. And I just wanted to see how your Memorial Day weekend went, and if you partied with the family or partied with friends.
Well, I have a very large family, so yes, we definitely had family in the building, and not only that, but we did have some memorial time because I did lose my only uncle on my mother's side, William Bishop, in 1963 in Vietnam, and I also lost one of my older brothers to PTSD after the war, and so we reflected on that about one died in the campaign, another died long after the campaign, but shouldn't they both be considered victims of that war? And and then I had the double whammy of having a close friend who entered hospice. So, we had a struggle on Memorial Day, but what the amazing thing about a Memorial Day is not only does it give you a chance to reflect, but it also gives your family a chance, especially if you're a veteran like you and I. Our family gets to support us and show us the love.
Yeah.
And in my particular case, I actually got my wife during the Vietnam War because she was a volunteer for the USO. And out of 50,000 guys, she picked me. So I won the lottery. And you know what? The rest of you guys, oh, well, too bad. But 51 years later, here I am. But she still honors the space. And Memorial Day was a very deep reflection for all of us.
One of the things that I've seen, and it's been a while since I've served, but even in the last 40 years, when we look at how the public looks at the military and, our roles within the country, is we've really learned to kind of separate in many ways the institution of the military versus the people who serve in the military. And I think that that's one of the best things that has ever happened because like the book, you can say it, well, it's about the book, but when you get right down to it, when it comes to the Art of Connection book series, it really isn't the book, it's the people that are in the book that really make it special. And I think that as we embrace that through society, we're also embracing that in business as well. And I think nowadays it is good business to show support of those who have served in the military. And my question for you, buddy, is you've probably seen these changes too. And I feel like these are some first steps, but there's some more steps that we need to achieve, aren't there?
Well, there are. I served during Vietnam, and I think the country and the leadership learned an extremely valuable lesson from Vietnam, and that is that a compulsory draft does not work. All 18-year-olds have to sign up for the draft. They get a notice, and they have to do it within 3 months of their birthday. But we haven't instituted a draft because our country, out of all the countries in the world, uses the attraction and the belief that honor should lead the charge. And so do we ever need the draft? Hopefully we won't ever need the draft because there are people who actually believe that honor should be their mantra. And as long as we have that, then we will focus on the people and not on what they do. Although they protect us and they guarantee our freedoms, we want to actually be able to look at the individual and embrace them. And I think the military today fails to do a little bit of that on the back end because they don't really create a proper transition back to civilian life, and they don't give them the uplifting and the elevation that they need to. And I think that's an area that they can improve on. But the fact that we have no draft makes us unique in the entire world.
Well, and I also think what is making us unique is that, in every way, we do have the ability to support those who are in transition and those who are coming into the community. And you and I both do that with our service members. We value them. We include them with open arms. And, some of the other things that I think about is I learned many things in my time during the Marine Corps. So I served for 6.5 years. So I had a delayed entry. So it kind of changed the way that my time frame went, because they probably 7 total. And, a few of the things is like the value of what we had, something called esprit de corps. And that was that in training feeling, that value of team, and that people can collectively achieve more. And one of the things that we have in society now that's prevailing is this idea of just total individuality. While I feel that individuality is so important to know ourselves really well, we also have to know how to connect with others, because no one's an island and we can't do it alone. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. Because I was a corpsman, I got to serve 2 years with the Marines. And so I was boots on the ground. And, there's a huge difference between being out on the broad ocean, out on an island, literally on a metal island in the middle of nowhere, and actually being, on the dirt with your comrades. Someone's covering your butt on one side and you're covering somebody else's butt on the other side. And your entire life, your entire existence depends on being in the collective. You have to have your unique skills. Yes. And you know what? We honor the unique skills by putting together a team that integrates a skill here and a skill there and makes it an optimized unit. And that is something that in the civilian world, we lose sight of rapidly. Veterans, they hang on to it a lot longer. And so when they get back into society, that's where they struggle. They don't understand why everyone doesn't have their back, and that is a problem.
Yeah. And one of the things I love to say is sharing is caring. And I think, my favorite word, one of my favorite words, manifestation, is sharing comes through your acts. And I think that that's something that, I like to say that there's meaningfulness and then there's mindfulness, but there's also thankfulness. And thankfulness actually puts into play. It is the action of what's happening in the mind. I can show my thankfulness through words. I can show my thankfulness through items. I can show my thankfulness through currency, through acts of kindness, etc. And I think one of the things that we sometimes forget is we live so much in our mind nowadays, and we have so much information that we have to just sort through. Sometimes we forget the actions that we need to carry through with, because that really is the how would I say, the memorable parts of what people are left behind with. Because thoughts are inside, but those actions from those thoughts, manifest on that outside. Tell us about that, and how do you see the educational role changing for both the military and for entrepreneurs?
Well, I think the biggest problem is that, people spend way too much time talking about what they want to do or what they plan to do, and they don't lead with the act itself. What they need to do is they need to actually prove that they've got the way to walk the talk. If you walk the talk and then you get elevated up to the pedestal by your clients or the people around you, or in the military by your group, then it's much more meaningful than if you flap your jaw and you say, yeah, that's what I'm going to do and what I'm going to do. And then you get that fear factor of, oh boy, I opened my mouth. Am I going to fall flat on my face? So we always have that lagging anchor dragging behind us that, wow, can we actually walk the talk? And we need to, the society has lost that capacity. Some of it may have been from COVID, but a lot of it is just the burgeoning amount of knowledge that comes out of the information age just burdens us down. And are we secure in our knowledge, and can we apply that knowledge? And that's where I come in, and that's where I work with you, is we help people take the knowledge they have and quit talking about it and go do it. That's it in a nutshell.
And which brings me to one other thing. And I think that, maybe not necessarily within the community of iEntrepreneur or Network Together, but a lot of times, we're trained to always, come with a full cup, always come with that full cup. And it's really hard to save enough space to allow the vulnerability to show, that we can share our strengths with your vulnerability and you can share your strengths with our vulnerability. Why is it so frowned upon in our society to show vulnerabilities when we also can share our strengths because of our showing of vulnerabilities?
Well, number one, the human race has just been hyper focused on the pecking order. Where am I compared to you? Am I higher, lower? We're always in a constant psychological competition for that next rung on the ladder. The problem with that is that if we were able to lead with vulnerability and curiosity, as well as offer our competency, and then find a way to expand the table, expand the pie, expand the solution, how much more powerful would we be? And people don't look at it that way because they're so hyper focused on that pecking order. And that's, I try to say, if I enter a room and I can't learn something in that room, I need to go find another room. And so if I'm in there and everyone's there to learn off of me, but I'm going to get nothing out of it, there's still some value available, because I can always say, I would like to know more about what you do, or I would like to learn from you. Show me something that you've got. And you open the door, and people, because of that pecking order, they don't open the door. They don't want to let somebody think that they're higher or better than they are in any area. They just want to keep fighting to be the best, and they lose sight of the big picture.
Yeah, and one of the things I look at it, sometimes when you just want to be the best, you leave the rest. And the thing is, to me, success is bringing everyone with you. It's not a journey you should take, at least I want to take alone. My last question for you, buddy, is I every once in a while I call this magic wand time. And my question is, if you were to have a magic wand, what is one thing that you would, if you had the ability to do it, especially being a pro-social change agent, what would that look like as a pro-social change agent? What would be the one thing that you would do with your magic wand?
I would eliminate one of the biggest hurdles that society has, especially today. What I would do is I would convince people that whatever right you claim for yourself, you not only should allow other people to have, but you should defend their right to have those rights. People are very selfish. Oh, yeah, I have this freedom, I have this, I have that, but I don't want them to have it. I want to boot them out, or I want to exclude them from the room. When in reality, if you want to empower the world, you would bring everybody in and say, yes, I have this freedom. I'm going to defend your right to have the same freedom completely unconditionally. You have to understand that would be my magic wand of, let's have unconditional sharing of the right to be who you are, regardless of who you are.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm with Dr. Buddy Thornton, good friend of mine, Dr. Buddy Thornton, owner and founder of Path to Knowing Academy. That's PATH2, the number 2, Knowing, with the K Academy. You can contact him at buddy.thornton@path2knowing.academy or call 480-861-1371. Buddy, thank you so much for being on with your segment. Please stay for the last segment of the show for reflection. I appreciate it very much.
It was an honor.
Thank you so much, buddy. Again, I want to thank Buddy Thornton for being on the show today. Yes, that is Dr. Buddy Thornton. Thank you so much. I look forward to the reflection time in our last segment. Our next guest. Oh my goodness. I'm so very excited to have my next guest here today. Our next guest is Patricia Anderson. She is owner and my next guest is Patricia Anderson. There we are. I'm so happy. How are you today, Patricia?
I am so happy to be here. I love being around you, even if it's digital. This is a very special show. It's very special just to be around you.
Well, thank you. Again, everyone, I'm with Patricia Anderson. She is owner and founder of Awaken, Heal, Inspire, LLC. You can contact her at Patricia at awaken-heal-inspire.com or call 602-480-8687. And I'm going to go a little different direction. I really love your domain name. And you may go, why? And many people may say, why? But what I love about your domain name are the dashes. You know, awaken, and then there's the dash, which is a pause, heal, and then there's a dash, which is a pause, and then inspire. And I think one of the things that really kind of wakes me up to that is, in a way, that really truly is your business. And one of the things is, and we talked, maybe less than we normally may do over Memorial Day, but one of the things that happens in the military is there's conflict. But conflict takes many forms, and conflict can also manifest itself in something that we nowadays call trauma, which, to me, trauma just seems to keep getting larger and larger and larger and larger. And all of a sudden it's going to be, if I have a hangnail, that's going to be trauma. And I'm not saying that to slight those who have real trauma, but I think that we need to kind of come back and really look at life, all of our lives, and really kind of define the meaning of trauma and what you do for those people who are trapped in that trauma, to awaken them, to heal them, and inspire them. Tell us a little bit about how your methodology behind working with those who do truly have trauma, and how you get them to escape, kind of like those claws that keep them trapped.
That's an amazing question, and definitely one of my favorite topics. So when I began some of my more awakening journey at 30, I didn't know that I had trauma. I didn't have an awareness of any of it, but I did know that I had this PTSD thing that was happening, flashbacks, didn't know what it was called, and I had been shutting down a lot of things. And so I feel like my favorite thing is to help people awaken at their pace, to validate some of what they're feeling, but also just noticing that their nervous system is often having them hijacked in a space where, like I did, I just had a nervous system that was always in that fight, always in flight, that freeze mode. And so I'd start with that. And sometimes we jump ahead depending on where they're at and what they're coming in for, and just start with a simple breath work technique or something that within 3 minutes that I learned in Shakti Naam Yoga could just calm and activate that vagus nerve. Because when that vagus nerve is activated, a lot of times that whole just intensity falls away. So I think that's my favorite start. But sometimes people that have had a lot of PTSD, they can't really do too much breath work. They have to do it in little tiny increments. And then sometimes people come to me and they've been like well-versed, well-aware, but they can tell that they're going through something and they need to start a next level to clear.
And I like where we're going with this conversation, because with people, and for men out there who may have no idea of what we're talking about, and I was one, for a long, long time, someone started talking to me about think of yourself as a car, and think of yourself as all the different things that you can do with the car. You can have a tune-up, you can have an oil change, you can have your transmission worked on, you can have your body paint. There's all sorts of things that you in the mechanics, and the aesthetics of what a car offers that we work on. And in the same way, when you work with people, there's not any one area that you necessarily just work with, with everyone. Some people may need to work on the aesthetics of saying, hey, I'm beautiful. Another one might, need to be work on a different place where they feel like they're not enough. Another person may just feel trapped because they can't break through what they see in the glass above them. Talk a little bit about that, Patricia, because you said something really interesting to me is it's not on your timetable, it's on the timetable of the people that you provide your services for.
Yes, absolutely. So when I first started working with people, I started where I was. And for a while, I didn't understand that people, like I would come to a teacher or a class, and then I would go home and incorporate it immediately. And so what I didn't understand is that not everybody can do that. Not everybody knows to do that. There's so many things to learn. I went through a lot of training, and that what most people need is to be affirmed first, and that rapport that starts, and then the heart can begin to open. And that was not at all even stuff I wanted to think about for myself, because that was one of my hardest things, is to be able to allow myself to be vulnerable, to be open. So that's, I think something I've learned a lot about, and to just really connect, spend time connecting at any level and make it about that person and what they need. I have gone on to get deeper training with hypnotherapy, and I'll have my master hypnotist certification soon. And so I've learned even more about how the subconscious mind, how the brain works, how our whole physiology works. And a lot about what you just said is that it's about pacing, and it's about that comfort first. It's about engaging in connection. One of the reasons I just truly love this networking community is because you talk about connection all the time.
I thank you for that. I absolutely do, because I think it is the first most important thing that we can do in being human. Connecting with others is the first most important thing that we can do with others. The conversation will follow that, but it at least takes that little bit of space of connection. And the other place I wanted to talk about was, and I'm going to go back to using the automobile again, and people are very similar to when someone works on the auto, because once you start healing someone in one area, right, it starts to affect areas, and some there's growth, and then sometimes some other things start to get uncovered, but as you keep going through that journey and you start strengthening yourself, just like a car can be used to race, or a car can be used to take the kids to school, or a car could be used to go to work, or a car could be used to go to a vacation. In the same way, this healing, and this is what I try to tell entrepreneurs, and this is why it's so important for entrepreneurs to have healers as well, because once you start this healing process, all of a sudden, in many ways, your relationships start to become better with your family. Your communication starts to become a little bit better with your clients. The way that you view yourself starts to become maybe even a little bit more confident. And that's why I've always felt that it's so important to, before you work on your business, do just a little bit of work on yourself, and your business will flow more easily. Tell us if you look at that in the same way that I do, and maybe even add to it if you do.
Absolutely. And I just love that whole thing about the car, and also that it is about that inside job, because a lot of times we're doers and we might not have gotten locked in that. And in the fight or flight, it's about doing. And there's just all this speed. And, you can get in your car and you don't think about the oil change. You don't think about regular maintenance. You think, I have got to get there. And that's what happens in our bodies as a vehicle to produce and all the different things. So I know that one of the things that I love that I've done often with entrepreneurs or business people is just starting with Shakti Naam Yoga, which even the words are like, what is that? But the payoff is what I start with. It's when you are engaged and tuned up, even within 15 minutes, and especially if you can get around other people doing it together, because you get 10 times the amount per person that you're doing that with. Because of the electromagnetic field, the payoff, the expansion. So when you start that 15 minutes or whatever it is, you immediately begin to feel more embodied and your frontal lobe starts to open. Your nervous system starts to get into that optimized place. But when your frontal lobe is open, just through that breath work, movement, sound vibration, and just shaking it all off type of thing, you know the next right steps. You're automatically more in optimism. And when you're in optimism, you're going to proceed in a way that's very different than when you're in, I got to get it done, I'm locked down. And so a lot of times we are looking down, our chin is down, we're typing on the computer, we're on our phone, we're even walking on our phones, but your chin is down, you're really giving a signal to your body and your system, the universe, that you are kind of running for your life. So you might not even feel that you're doing that, but how often you are with that chin down like that does something for your nervous system. Versus if you were to walk with your chin up, sit, do a few practice, like a breathwork practice, then your chin is up, you're in a neutral mode, you're in an optimism mode, you're in a calm, you're automatically going to calm your nervous system. So I start with that a lot of times with people that are really in their head, especially women, because women can really function in their head all the time and be very disconnected and struggle and then be anxious because they're doing too much, they're being too little. And so we start with that simple breath work, movement, sound, vibration. I call it breathe, move, sweat, glow. And then you're going to thrive because you're getting everything in order. And then you have less thinking and trying.
I want to go into that just a little bit more, and I'm gonna use that poor car even more. And again, this is mainly for illustrations, because in a certain way, when you know it so well, my dad always used to tell me, if you already know it, it's very easy, but if you don't know it, it's never very easy. And so, but we pretty much all of us drive cars, most of us anyway. And, one of the things I always look at it is vibration. We are all composed of a certain amount of vibration. And one of the things that I say is, you call it the it factor or call it the not factor. Vibration can repulse and it can attract. And in the same way, like a car, if you're in a car, when it's running really, really well, it just works and things are natural. And it's like the universe just goes with you. You don't even know it's on because there's just such a beauty to it, right. But if it starts, coming uncoupled or because there's something wrong with it, all of a sudden you hear these noises, you hear these knocks, you feel these jerks, there's this tension, you start to lack confidence and you start concentrating so much on that, it takes away the joy of driving. And,
right.
and that's kind of the same way that I look at vibration. One of the things is to me, Patricia, you're like the auto mechanic of vibration. Your number one goal is how can I create a vibrational space for my clients so they can move in such a way where things become easy again. Would you agree with that? Or, is that what you work on with your clients to achieve?
Wow, that I just I'm so grateful to hear that from you. So how I see it is that we are that vibration inside of a vessel. And this life, we only have one vessel. So if that's like a car, your vehicle, it's your vehicle taking your vibration, your thoughts, your feelings, your speech, your actions, your attitude everywhere. And so when we're able to realize that how we tune that vibration up every morning, how we put ourselves to bed at night for that vibration, that vehicle, can we rest deeply, all the things that go into taking care of that vehicle, things begin to take on a new light. So like getting into that car, it's like you're getting into your vessel every morning. We're sleeping at night. We're coming to, we're shaking off our dreams. We're setting the tone, and we can be creators and we can be magnetic, so that that vehicle is a constant magnet for what we want. We can also set it to repel what we don't want. So like when you're driving along and you kind of feel these symptoms in your body, just like you hear it in your car, you know you have not necessarily been taking care of it well, you can reframe things. And, you know, your nervous system will help you reframe things so that you can at least say, okay, when's the next time I can take care of that? Is there a quick tip, like a breath work? I do like a fitted in method. Is there a quick breath work that I can, you know, take care of so that I can tune out that car noise, so I can get my body in a calmer state while I'm still having to perform, still having to go. You know, I work with a lot of moms, and that job never stops. That vehicle of a mother runs. And the vehicle of a child, that type of energy, is so much more. And you know, you have teenagers, you had kids, you know, and now you have a 5-year-old, I believe.
Our 13-year-old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that is just an interesting thing, that running that vehicle, go. So getting a lot of life force. So the higher your vibration is because of how much life force. So if you think about kids, they're breathing all the time. They're moving all the time. Their life force is really high. When our life force can be a lot lower. So as soon as I pick up the pace, you know, I'm going to be 61 not long from now. I still run, play with kids almost every day. And the reason I can do that and enjoy it is because I tune up all that life force. I get that vehicle tuned up from morning before I get out of bed through, you know, all the different stages. And because I know how to fit it in, and I can train people how to fit it in. I can train moms how to refresh, regroup, you know, teach people, even entrepreneurs that are so busy, take 7 minutes, legs up the wall, find a spot in your office, your headboard, wherever it is, and you have 3 hours of restorative rest. 7 minutes, 3 hours, no brainer. That's easy math, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
deep restorative sleep. And one of the other things that I've learned too with that vehicle and the car, how you take care of it, is our food is a significant part. So breath is our first ingredient, is our first nutrient. That's what we learn in Shakti Naam Yoga. Then water naturally falls into place. Then food is a lot more effortless. It's not as difficult to fight off all the cravings and all those things. However, there is a difficulty that people have that they may not even realize is part of what's happening, that I've gotten more tuned into with food, is called insulin resistance. And it's a core challenge that my parents went through. At 36, I was partially disabled. That's when I discovered the impact of food and sugar and all the things, at 20 migraines a month, and just, I was in a really deep fatigue. So I have begun to partner with a company that has a proven PDR list supplement that's been tested for 30 years that helps with that insulin resistance, because it is that internal factor that might be that part of the vehicle that you don't know is impacting how your brain fog is, or even how deep your sleep is, or how much energy you have. And I'd say that that is a core component that this whole global situation is, and especially in the United States. You know, scary statistic is 80% And I don't want to say too much because I don't like to create it. I like my vibration to be about amazing health. But the truth is, the uncomfortable truth is that a high percentage, whatever it is, it's way over 50%, is diabetic or insulin resistant, and then going through the food cravings and challenge and hormone challenges, everything else that's the baseline of some of our illness and that level of discomfort, fatigue, challenge.
I love that. Thank you. Everyone, I am with Patricia Anderson. She is the owner and founder of Awaken, Heal, Inspire, LLC. You can contact her at Patricia at awaken-heal-inspire.com. I love saying that. I don't know. Those dashes just really get me there. Or call her at 602-481-8687. Patricia, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you, and I look forward to our reflection segment here in a little bit.
Me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I love it. People in energy. We are off frequency. Thank you again, Patricia. I just loved your segment. What you do fascinates me. I just love it. And now I'm ready for our next guest as she's coming onto the stage right now. Kelley, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today, Robert?
I am doing amazing. I am so glad to be here, and I am so glad that you're on the show today, your first time. So this is awesome, you first timer.
I am so grateful. A little nervous, but I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Well, I'm excited too. Everyone, I'm with Kelley Fishel. Kelley Fishel. She's owner and founder of Kelley Hair. You can contact her at kelleyhair05@gmail.com or call 480-427-7933. And I'd like to think I'm one of the supermodels that she has. And so it's just really great to have you on today. Kelley, this has been really cool. We've had a couple of guests on to the show talking about amazing different things. And what I love is you create amazing in a different way. And I'm always curious about, people who get into hairstyling, because I always look at it this way. It can be the most fascinating and frustrating career that a person can have. And I just wanted you to talk about, a little bit about, what got you into becoming a hairstylist, and why do you pursue, your career path so passionately?
I started when I was probably fell in love with the hair industry when I was really young. I probably 10, 15, just seeing the amazing art that comes from hair design. In high school, I went to beauty school. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I knew it was my calling from day one. And the passion of learning. Every day I'm learning something new. If it's not from a guest, it's from a webinar. It's from connection. It's one of the most amazing fields I've been, because you're healing people from the inside. You're filling their cup up. And that part is so rewarding at the end of the day, because you see people and guests that come in and they're looking for some change. They want something that makes them feel great about themselves. And if I'm able to fill that cup up, it is the most rewarding and grateful feeling I could ever have. That's why I continue to do this job. And 24 years in the business so far, and I still have 20 some years left.
I love that. One of the things that really makes me appreciate you so much, and I really do, in your profession, there's a lot of people who look at it as work. And when you go there and they work with you, it doesn't feel like you're almost invading their space. You know, they're working on you. They're you know, they charge you. You feel transactional, and then they push you back out the door. And with you, there's a big difference. You look at what you do in a way that I really love. This is your profession. And the way that you go about your business, the way that you go about how you receive people, the way that you go about, you know, making everyone feel cared for, makes it not getting hair done with you. It's always having an experience with you where, you know, for me and probably a lot of clients, we look forward to not just having the haircut, but also having incredible conversation, because that's where you bring so much more to each and every one that you work with to the table, because you actually remember what we all say. How do you do that?
Thank you. It's because I love every guest that comes in my chair. If it's you, your wife, or your children, that time with them is so special. It makes me feel, I don't even have words, I guess, to say. It's just being able to be part of your all life. I get to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. And when you come in and having ability to remember what we did, I think it's a gift from God, to be honest. Because I'll be the first person to say I'm horrible with names, but I will remember your life story, because that is also your brand. You are wearing that. And how can I bring what you're saying to life as we sit in a chair and we're conversating, and you start thinking of like, okay, this is how this connects to this part of your life. Well, where do I be able to sit down and have that ability to do it? I think being open and being grateful for the stuff I learn, and I feel so much when you guys come in. It's amazing. And like you asked me, how do I remember it? It's because I love everybody. I love every single one of you that come in. You guys are my friends, my family. That's what it is.
Yeah, I truly believe that. And one of the things I think that you know this, but you may not. I used to work for Chanel, Coco Chanel, and we get a lot of training when we work for Chanel. And I wish I would have stayed 2 years, because I would have had that all expenses trip paid to France. But I didn't realize that would happen. I just had to cross that time frame. But one of the things, Coco Chanel, she worked on the outside. She worked on the embellishments of the beauty that's additive to human nature. But a lot of people don't understand, she was an orphan, and she struggled, and she worked hard, and she lived in the streets, and, all these crazy things for her to really become the person who she became. And, one of the things she said is that if she didn't believe in her beauty on the inside, she would have never been able to radiate that beauty on the outside. Mm-hmm. And it was always amazing to me. And she said, beauty, kind of paraphrasing it, but, beauty is an inside game. And, in this day and age, it just seems like, there's like almost like forces that they're keeping us from saying that it's okay to be beautiful. It's okay. It's not okay to be beautiful. It's not okay to, live, on the inside and the outside, and for me, I look back at Chanel, and she's like, if you were writing a book, and this is like one of the trainings, and the beautiness of that book is you. She said the last chapter is written, the last part of what's written is the cover for everyone to see. Why isn't the cover as beautiful as the inside? Mm-hmm. And I will always remember that. And I thought to myself, beauty beauty is not 90%. When you think of beauty, it is 100%. And tell me on your thoughts of that, because one thing that you do is, to me, you're a part of that piece that finishes that whole piece, that whole part of beauty.
Yeah, that, as I can say, is probably for most hairdressers. We are just highlighting what's already existing. And we are like this stage before you walk out that door, and helping people to be authentic, being comfortable in your own skin. Because when they first come in, oh, I got my gray hair, I got my bad haircut, I don't have the confidence. Well, we're here to make you feel like that we can help you. You're our guest. And when you sit in, it's like Beauty and the Beast when he's at the table. We want to make sure that we make your shine. It's like they always say, before you can fix your own crown, you need to fix someone else's. We're fixing crowns all day. And I think we as hairdressers probably get more reward than you guys will ever know. And that's one thing we learn every day, is sometimes you're going to be touched. Sometimes that we're the only people that touch you. And with some of our older guests that come in, we are the only one that they have a conversation with, And I think it's just a full circle. That would be my impression of that.
Well, I think one of the things is that I love about it is that in certain ways there is immediacy to it. And I'll just take for myself, for example, I'll come in, it's 8 or 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm going to get my hair done and everything. And I'm going like, okay, I'm going to wear a ball cap. I'm going to hide myself. And then all of a sudden, okay, Kelley, take it away. Make me transform me. And I think you're like one of the few people in my life that I can actually say when I walk in, no matter how I walk in, I always walk out energetically speaking at a higher level. And you have that capacity to do that. And again, I mean, there's a lot of hairdressers to pick from, but I can tell you this, I've had a lot that didn't make me feel like I was walking out with a more energetic, feeling as I go out the door. I walk out the door going like, oh my goodness, I'm never going there again. And that's how you make it different for all of us. You really share your trade in such a way where we can feel the care that's involved. And that's why I appreciate you so much. And that's why I believe, there is a difference, and you are the most affordable transformation expert I have ever known. So I just wanted you to know that. And so, oh my goodness, I'm going to, again, everyone, I'm with Kelley Fishel. She's the owner and founder of Kelley Hair. You can contact her at kelleyhair05@gmail.com. And she spells Kelley, Kelley. Just throw it in there, Kelley. I would never figure that. I'd be like Kelley, Keli. I don't know. So kelleyhair05@gmail.com, or you can call her at 480-427-7933. Kelley, thank you for your segment.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Buddy and Patricia, and well, guys, what do you think? We're at the end of a wonderful show, and Buddy, you were the first one to come on, so I just wanted you to give your reflection on Kelley and Patricia and some reflective thoughts on what you heard and what you would like to share.
Well, first of all, these young ladies, and I do say young because I'm in my 70s, so I know I can legitimately say that. I think they both have figured out one of the formulas that I use with my 4-pillar system. You cannot work with other people or ever help them if you don't optimize yourself. And to optimize yourself, you really have to understand who you are. And it is about the biology, exactly what Patricia says. It is about the confidence and feeling as if you are beautiful on the inside and on the outside, which is what Kelley says. And they just blend together very well. I enjoyed both of their segments and got a lot out of it, because it just reminds me that we all have a purpose, and that purpose is to show people that before you start pointing your finger out, make sure you build what's inside.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you for that, Buddy. And Patricia, just some reflection on Buddy and with Kelley.
Well, I just have enjoyed this so much. I did enjoy the beginning talking about Memorial Day. My dad was a disabled survivor of World War II, and was so much that he came home with, and how all of that went. And it just gave me a lot more understanding and compassion, even though I've worked on it for a long time, to just realize, that added piece that was in his head probably. And I have appreciated every time I hear both of you share, or I hear this topic, especially at times I've been around you, Robert. So Kelley, I just feel, and for Robert, I'm sorry, Buddy, it's the unconditional sharing. I love that. I love that part. And that is so meaningful to me. And with Kelley, it is an inside, and I do hear your passion about what you do, and that you have a presence, and that's, the fulfillment in what you're doing, the presence, and that it's about the people and who they are and how they're coming in. And like Robert said, I have gone to get my hair worked on, and however long it takes, and sometimes have left thinking, wow, I just spent so much time being the therapist, and I didn't mind it because I naturally kick into that role. But at a certain point, I do feel like there's a difference when I get to come in and there's maybe a mutual, or there's just a receiving, and I can just let go for a while and just enjoy what it feels like to be taken care of, because I'm more of a giver all the time. So I really appreciate, and that you two met up, and that we get to hear from both of you. Amazing.
Thank you, Patricia. And Kelley, first time on the show. What do you think? How do you feel?
Not as scared as I was coming onto this. I'm
That's great.
Just very grateful. And it's amazing to be able to be with humans like you guys, who are just loving and passionate and caring. And for like Buddy, I understand. I have clients that that come in from military, PTSD, and that, they share things with me that I will never say, because it's like they're giving me a part of their intimacy and having to sit down with them. And I appreciate when service members come in, because my ex-husband was a Marine and he was in Iraq. So I heard those stories and I can relate. And Patricia, the energy that you bring in, hearing all this inside stuff that a lot of my guests don't have. And it's like, wow, to have somebody I can say, hey, these are the things that I've brought back from this, and being able to. And Robert, thank you for having me. And the respect that I am.
You are wonderful. And one of the things I always say this. I worked in restaurants at one time in my life, and I tell Buddy this all the time. He knows what I'm going to say, and I say, for a lot of us, we have been serving tables for years, and what great friends, what great business partners, what great providers of services do is they allow us at those times to actually be served. And and that's why it's so important to me, is to provide a sustainable place that's psychologically safe, where every person who comes in that room feels valued and provides value. Because I don't think there's any greater gift a person can have than having a gratefulness of being in the position of the both giving and receiving, because that is really what life is about. It's about great trades where the energy that's shared creates more energy for both who participate in it. And that's what this network is about. And it may be business oriented, but even more so than that, it's human led. So I want to thank each and every one of you on the show, and everyone, please, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to keep everyone in here. So thank you so much for being on the show today. We'll be here next week, and next week I'll have Buddy coming back with some our publishing team, and we're going to be celebrating the Art of Connection, book 6 on resilience. And so if you want to hear a little bit about the behind the scenes things that goes on with the resilience book, come next week, everyone. We want to share this fun and love with you. Take care.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.